You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, theys, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I'm really excited for the interview I have here today. We are talking about this new film, You and I have Summer Shelton, and I have friend of the show, Clayne Crawford. Summer, Clayne, how you guys doing today?
Wonderful.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Summer, I'm gonna start with you. So I watched this last night,
Mhm.
um, for the second time actually, because
Oh,
this just hit me in a spot that I was not expecting in the best way. I think the statements that you make about lost love and about just relationships that we lose sometimes along the way just because of life, um, through no malicious intent. I loved what you had to say about it, and I love where the journey that this film takes me on. Talk to me about your experience and about like your writing process as far as writing in this journey.
hmm. I think to write, you gotta live a lot before you can write a few things. So I think that, try to bring to the script as much honesty as you can, but on a practical level, I do a lot of thinking before I start writing, and I do a lot of walking. So it's not usually until I have it all fleshed out in my brain do I sit down, and then it's kind of like just a wellspring of like it's coming out. So I outlined it in 2 days, note carded it, and then I wrote the first draft in 10 days.
Oh wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
hmm
what was the biggest change from the first draft to the final draft?
Not much from the script. Um, Really not much at all. If anything, I might have changed just like some dialogues to be more. I wrote it with Clayne in mind and his voice, so like I could write the dialogue to what I thought the cadence of our voices was like, and I knew the people that were going to be in it, so that's helpful to me to like hear it as I write it. And not much changed on the page between start and finish. If anything, maybe I just like zhuzhed up a few things.
Okay. Since you wrote this with Clayne in mind, Clayne, I'm gonna ask you, sir. Um, rewatching, rewatching a little bit of your stuff, because of course, last time we talked about the integrity of Joseph Chambers. It was really nice to see you in a not so intense role, in terms of like death and everything. Um, I love your leading man vibes, man. I think you absolutely nailed this, and you're charming, you're funny. I won't lie, it did catch me off guard when I saw you with no facial hair. I was like that kind of tripped me, that kind of tripped me out. But talk to me about, and you're a producer on this, so yeah, talk to me about taking on this role and like what your prep was, because your roles do tend to be a little more intense, dramatically. And while this is dramatic, this does allow some more fun for you to have. So yeah, talk to me about taking this role.
Well, first of all, as it relates to producer, I was more just supportive, of Summer. She was certainly a one-woman show throughout this entire process. For me, thank you for saying those things. I think that's part of why I agreed to this, is I'd never played um, kind of a romantic lead. I just never read one that was interesting,
Fair.
So for me, I have to kind of I the character and the film itself needs to have something to say. And a lot of times these quote unquote romance or love stories rarely do, or at least
Yeah.
one that I can kind of relate to. And when I read this, it just seemed very personal. And I think anytime someone writes, a writer director writes a story that's, a chapter from their life, um, that intimate, um, kind of therapeutic approach to a film is intriguing to me. So after having a conversation with Summer and kind of realizing that indeed this was something that she'd kind of experienced in some ways, and how this was an opportunity for her to kind of get a lot of things out. And I think anytime a filmmaker can do that, it's intriguing. So preparation, we've all been in love. I think we've all made decisions that may have felt right at the time, and then once time and reflection, you realize that maybe it was a bit selfish and hurtful, and there was a lot of self-preservation in your actions, her actions. But for me, I just kind of went into it with an open heart, honestly, and just tried to. I was more of kind of a tight end, to use a football analogy for Summer, right? I was there to
Nice.
block, I was there to catch a pass and catch a pass, but I was there just to kind of support. And I think in a lot of ways, Joseph is there to kind of hear her out, right? And
Yeah.
so it was kind of easy for me, again, just to kind of show up each day and just to be there.
Well said. Summer, I'm gonna throw it back to you. I'm always curious, and intrigued, um, when someone decides I'm gonna go ahead and write this and I'm gonna go ahead and direct it, but I'm also gonna star in it. Because I was sitting there, I was like, God damn, she's wearing all three hats. Like, okay, like let's see. And I think I actually had to pause the movie at a couple points because there were multiple lines of your dialogue that I just went, God damn, she's nailing this. Because there is this point early on where I was like, oh man, like Sarah's so mean to Joseph. And then when I hear Sarah kind of give her side, I went, that's fair. That's I was like, that's completely fair. But it's such, and I think to Clayne's point, there are so many romantic comedies, romantic dramedies where you find yourself falling more on the side of one character than the other, but you write in such a way, and again, this is just a testament to your script, that you completely see both points of view and they're both valid. Talk to me about that balance, because that's a hell of a balance that you have to strike.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. Thank you for saying that and noticing that because my goal in making the film was always for it to be about a relationship. I didn't, I know that a lot of conversation is about me and all the hats that I'm wearing and what I bring to the script personally, but I also wanted to keep the focus. I didn't want anyone to be vilified, and it was important to me that both of the people are treated with respect, even though you don't always like to hear what some people have to say, but you have to respect when they say it and choices they make. And, in my opinion, I wanted to make a love story without a villain. I didn't want the guy to be the bad guy and he did something shitty. So the only way that the girl's going to love him if, all these things. I just wanted it to be more about, the only villain in this movie, in my opinion, is time.
Well said.
And time is the villain between these two people is they just didn't meet at the right time.
I would definitely say circumstance too, because
Mhm.
I think one of the points that Joseph makes is like he was just like, I thought that given all these plates that were being balanced, this was the right decision. And when you hear it, you're like, yeah, that's fair. But then when you hear Sarah's retort, you're like, that's also fair. So
Mhm.
couple more quick questions for y'all. Your chemistry, that is always something that I'm like very like ick about some of these rom-coms where I feel like the chemistry just isn't there. And from the
Mhm.
moment that you guys first interact, I was like, what? I was like, okay, yeah, we're good. Talk to me about getting that chemistry. Like, was there a process to that? Because it seems so natural between the two of you.
Um, I honestly, I don't think so. I mean, I think that the biggest thing that, I mean, I don't want to speak for Clayne that he and I had on our side going into this is I feel like we come from a lot of the same background and places. I mean, we're both Southern, grew up in rural areas, and I think that, you know, sometimes knowing where someone comes from helps you understand where they've been and where they want to go. And And for me, that was helpful to me in just feeling safe and vulnerable in his presence and to be so open and candid so quickly. That was at least helpful to me is to feel that presence. And I was just fortunate enough that, when we met in person, my instincts were right and I felt the same way. So I feel like it's the one time I played Vegas and it worked in my favor. Other
Fair.
times, maybe not so good, but at least this time it was good. But I think, I think we both had a respect for each other at that time. Like Clayne had made Killing of Two Lovers and that was a big important film to him for many reasons, and Joseph Chambers, and I feel like he knew why I was doing this. So I think that both of us always have just respected each other in a way that I think at least helps that for me. I don't know about you, Clayne.
No, I mean, you're right. I think being certainly there's always ties kind of when you come from the same place as some kind of
Mhm.
alluded to, like being from the South and so forth. But I think she's right when you respect someone as an artist. I think the camera sees that, right? Which because there's mutual respect, then we become kind of friends. You realize you have the same interest, so it was kind of fast track, But I don't also don't want to take away from the work Summer was doing as an actress, because look, I've worked with people that uh, I wouldn't mind if they took a long walk off a short pier, and I still made
Fair.
it look as if we were best friends. You know what I mean? So I think it's part of the job, to create chemistry and so forth on scene. And I think Summer, just again going back to like her performance, it's rare that you work with someone who is the first time they've acted, and they're that connected to a performance and just the choices that she was making. We did an interview earlier, and they're like, "How much of this was just kind of winging it?" And Summer had such a clear vision of what she wanted to do. It was just my job to show up and make sure.
I think Clayne froze, but we'll wait. Um, well, Summer, let me ask you because I'm curious about this. The wardrobe. Um, you both were dressed like I loved your outfits. Like anytime you guys were in a scene, I was like, oh, they both look so good. Like, was there a certain like vibe you guys were trying to go for, or like when in terms of the wardrobe, or?
Well, we picked out all of our own clothes and a lot of, you know, Clayne, I know, loves dealing with his own wardrobe. So
Okay.
he's a snazzy guy and he's stylish and he knows it. So I think he was excited maybe that this time he could put on a suit and, didn't have to jump across the hood of a car or something and could wear fancy clothes. Maybe that's why he really took the movies. He could wear all his fancy clothes and look handsome on
I
camera.
mean, it's a good reason to be fair,
A good
but
reason. Why not? Yeah, but mine, I know too, I credit a lot of it to collaborating with Bruce Theorychan, the DP. And he and I had a lot of talk about color and wanting it to feel warm. And two, there's little traces of mimicry in their outfits. So you see they're a little bit connected, even though it's different. And, some of the pieces of clothing too, I knew in the coloring of the house, I wanted things to feel very natural and then moving so that at the end of the film, Sarah's wardrobe for the first time is very different and different coloring and is very specific choice. At the end of the film, he's in just black and white. That was always a thing to me is that it would just be very not too distracting, just very simple. It's just coming to the table. Here it is in black and white, just a simple, nice pants and white shirt and her outfit at the end was much more lively with color versus the darker things. But Bruce too helped a lot with that. Bruce, our DP, who's very wonderful and talented.
okay, shout out to Bruce because yeah, I thought that was
Bruce.
something I was always like I was like, oh, they both look so good. That makes me so happy. Um,
Mhm.
one
Thank
more
you.
question. One more question for y'all. There's a lot going on in this movie, like in the best way. And Summer, real quick compliment for you. I love the way that you shot this film. There's this one shot in particular where they're cleaning up and you're shooting it from outside, so it's like we're literally getting a window into the relationship. And I was just like, mwah. I was like, I was like, that's awesome. Like, props to you. Like, I love the way you shot this. Like, just you killed it on that front. Um, Without spoiling too much, there is that whole cleanup scene. And that is one of my favorite scenes in a film I've seen all year because it's really just like we're just sitting there in the moment, in the awkwardness with them. And the way you guys are just volleying off each other, it's like a great tennis match. I was like, they're both giving everything to each other in this moment, and I
Yes.
feel it. Clayne, I'll start with you. Like, talk to me about the prep for that scene because I mean, obviously, I mean, you've been great and stuff for years, but yeah, man, talk to me about that because that's such a dialogue heavy scene, but you feel every word that you both say. So yeah.
Someone was very intentional with the dialogue in that scene and kind of the blocking that would go with it, and she had the shots all kind of mapped out. So it was it was a bit of an orchestra as it relates to kind of getting it all work together. And prep wise, again, I think it was having such a clear understanding of the emotional underlining of each piece and why each scene was in the story. Um, Summer was quite specific with that. So I guess I just look at it. I don't get nervous very often doing film. I felt like I was jumping out of an airplane that day.
Damn.
It definitely the romantic side of this piece was just new territory for me. You
Yeah.
know, I've never been intimate on camera, only with, with my wife or partner. So again, it was new. So I don't know how I prepared. A lot of booze. Um, I don't know, man. Again, I just trusted Summer so much. I know it sounds small, but to kind of leave your ego and your fears in the car and just walk on set and be free and open takes a ton of work and meditation and just trying
Yeah.
to, this again, I use the word way too much, but it's so crucial just being present, kind of being where your feet are, and allowing things to move through you and not judge them or sit on them. Just allow those impulses to kind of breathe, and that comes from this incredible safety net that was Summer Shelton.
Mm. Summer, what about you?
Oh, well, I mean, Clayne was my safety net, so maybe that's just kismet. I think that's one word that I could always use to describe how I felt, was safe. And two, I knew, and I do feel that us being able to shoot the film in order helped. Our storyline in order definitely helped a lot. And I always knew going in making the film, no spoilers here,
No,
that
no.
was I wanted it to slowly, I knew that the ending would be in close-ups. So I always worked towards that moment between the two. So all the scenes prior, I wanted everyone to feel like an observer and like they were just there lingering in the moment. So I always put something between the camera and the people, whether it's through a door frame, through a mirror. So you're shooting like frame in a frame until the end.
Mm,
So there's
okay.
nothing between these people. So I created that kind of distance. And then, as an actress, I will, if I ever get the luxury of ever being in another film, I hope and pray I just have a scene partner that's as generous on set as Clayne was, because I mean, he acted opposite me every scene. He, even when he wasn't on camera, and he would act in a way where he could help me with my eye line and keep my feet a few little inches when I was maybe missing my mark here or there. Just tiny little things that people don't have to do to be nice and kind. And I think it's just those little things all along the way that help you when you get to a place where you need to be completely vulnerable. You know that the person's going to take care of you.
Clayne, anything to piggyback on that? Oh, okay. Oh, we're out of time.
I'll say
I will
this:
just,
we're
I will,
out of time. I don't care if we're almost in time. It's reported, but this kind of stuff doesn't happen very often. So this is why I do these little films, because they feed your soul, man. It's true art. You show up every day, and just like a painter, a musician, you have to let it move through you, and you have to trust your tools and your environment and so forth. So I'll just say we're very lucky, and the fact that we get to share the film with people, icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Well said. I will just simply say that as someone who watches a decent amount of these, because they're always out there. This was a joy to watch. And Summer, I genuinely can't wait to see what you do next. Like directing
Either.
wise, I directing wise, writing wise, acting wise, I was just in awe of your work, and I'm such a fan now off of this movie. And Clayne, sir, it was great to see like a new side of you of your acting. Like I said, I think you nail your shit. Not surprising, but you're fantastic in this. In closing, if you could please tell people where they can see this film, and if you could tell people your socials so they can interact with y'all.
Oh, okay. You can see the film in LA Friday, October 18th, other cities to be announced, and ideally in your homes around December. And my socials is at S_D_S. And then the movie social is at you&i the movie. And that's all on Instagram.
Boom, Clayne.
Boom.
I have no idea what my socials are. My wife and daughter help me with that stuff, so I don't know. I don't know.
Google
I'm
people.
sure just type in Clayne Crawford and something will pop up.
It's yeah, at Clayne Crawford. Yeah, there you
Summer
go.
probably not. Of course
I
you
know,
know.
I got it down here. You got at Clayne Crawford, and then you should also make sure to follow the wonderful work Keenan's family does with their foundation as well. So it's all out
Wow.
there.
Wow, man, Summer's on it.
I
You have
am.
Uh,
no idea. You have no idea.
Summer, Clayne, thank you again for stopping by. Thank you so much for working through my technical difficulties. I appreciate it. Good luck to you all on the film. You guys take care, all right?
Thank
Bye,
you.
buddy.
All right,
Bye,
take
Hunter.
care.
Take care.